Home sellers are panicking as we're going into the holiday season and they haven't sold their house. For instance, look at this house. It's been on the market for 194 days. The sellers literally moved out of the house, had it staged, and now they haven't sold it in more than 6 months. So they're moving back in and then they're gonna relist it. Not only that, they started at $675,000. Now they've dropped it all the way down to $500,000 and it still hasn't sold. That's not the only one in the valley here. I just wanna bring up another one. They're listed at $725,000. They started at $885,000. Now this is a vacant house, guys. Starting at $885,000 down to $724,000. And I just shot off a text and I said, hey, so-and-so, I was just curious, would your clients be willing to take $650,000 if it was cash and we close quick? And you know what they said? Sure. So we're talking about $885,000 all the way down to $650,000, guys. And that isn't it. This is just two examples here in the Treasure Valley. When we're going into the holiday seasons and people are at their house, it's still on the market. The ones that are going to be the cream of the crop, if you're going to go and try to buy these houses, are homes that are vacant, homes that have been sitting on the market for more than a month. And now we're sitting in the holiday seasons, which is not the time to sell a house. That is your opportunity to jump in and try to get that. That is only the resale. We haven't even tapped into the new construction. I know what some of you guys are saying, at least some of you guys have told me in the comments is, Josh, it's normal. Everything's normal here. Sellers are supposed to give seller concessions. Like, this is a normal market. The market is not crashing. You're just a doomsdayer. But is it really now? Is it really normal for a seller to be willing to drop $200,000? A seller would be willing to drop $80,000 just by a text message, just by a phone call? I don't think so. And when we look at these builders, like this builder right here, this is different than the builders we've used in the past. So this builder right here is offering a $20,000 incentive. So off of their $725,000 house, a $20,000 incentive. So that's around a 2.5% drop that they're willing to give you to help you try to afford their homes. Remember, the builders want to keep the price inflated because that means they have more profit instead of dropping the home price to what it is. And Tresidio, they came out and now instead of just doing the 2-1 buy down, they're saying, hey, we got a deal for you. It's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving. Let's get your clients into a 3-2-1 buy down, which costs them even more money up front. But is it a good deal for you? Getting a 3-2-1 buy down? So what that essentially means is for the first year, you're paying 4.25% interest rate. But by the time that this loan fully matures at the 4th year, you're going to be paying 7.25%. And so many people have been falling for this trap. Don't let that be you. Remember, although it is holiday season and people are trying to be festive and give away things, you want to make sure that what you're taking isn't going to actually be a cancer for you in the long run. Some of you guys have reached out and said, hey, what does it cost to get my rate down to 5%? So I'm just going to jump onto this calculator using the 3-2-1 rate buy down calculator. It's a 30-year term. And that house that we were looking at was $575,000. So let me plug that in here real quick. The interest rate we're floating right around that 7.25%. For the builder, it would cost the builder around $26,000, $27,000. Yes, they partner with a lender and sometimes you can get a little bit better discount or the builder won't have to pay as much as the $26,000. But what if they paid that $26,000 and just dropped the price? How much of a discount is that? Well, we're talking close to a 5%. And because I don't want to just guess, I'm going to use a calculator real quick. So 26 divided by 575, that's a 4.5% decrease on the price. Instead of just dropping it, they're saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and do this. But guess what? At the end of this, it drops your payment in the first year. And this is the thing that makes people get so attracted to this, right? So for the first year, they're saving over $1,000 on just their principal and interest by paying $2,825. So they're saving around $1,093 a month for that year. But as soon as the next year happens, boom, they just jumped $300. Boom, then they just jumped $300 again. And then by the end of it, now they're paying an extra $1,000 from when they originally paid. This is where people get in trouble because they think that they can refinance later, but we've already been through that. You've been following our channel. We told you don't do this way back in 2022. And some of you guys that listen got into it thinking that you could refinance by now, and you can't refinance by now because interest rates are actually 1% higher than what they were then. Be very, very careful, especially when builders try to make this seem so good. Like, oh, you'll get to pay 4.25% for that first year. But hold on, what's the fine print say? Oh, by year 4, you're paying 7.25% interest rate, which is not very budget friendly. Increasing your budget a total of $1,000 by year 4. I just want to warn you. I just want to give you a brief warning and look at this chart for foreclosures because yes, foreclosures are low and that's okay that foreclosures are low, but foreclosures were low in 2005. And all of a sudden they skyrocketed. Why was that? Everybody's gonna say because of the ninja loans, but it's not just the ninja loans. It's also the people who are getting sucked into buying a house when the affordability is at the all-time low. Home affordability is lower than it has been in decades. And people are still going out and buying a house using financing who are gonna be stuck in these houses, what people sometimes forget when they're going and they're financing a house is they're also going to have to make those repairs. Right now, according to Yahoo, 80% of households have lost a majority of their liquid assets. And this is all the way back in March. This is lower than it's been in March of 2020. You have to keep this in mind. Housing affordability at the all-time low. According to Yahoo, 80% of households have lost their liquid assets. What is this moving up towards? Well, this is probably moving up to that foreclosure mark starting to tick up. Because yeah, again, remember when we were sounding this alarm last year, a year and a half ago, foreclosures were low, but they have been continually on the climb. If things continue the way they're going, then things will blow up, and it's gonna happen sooner than later, in my opinion. I gotta throw this out here because I came across this article as we're doing our thing. Don't worry. According to The Hill, Biden's approval rating ticks up as voters rank a stronger economy. So I gotta know from you guys, do you feel like we're in a stronger economy? And is Biden's approval rating really ticking up? I mean, when I go out there and I go fill up my car, or I go to the grocery store, or I talk to somebody and say, hey, guess what? I just went to get my chicken food, and my chicken food has literally doubled in price from what I was paying just 6 months ago. Insane. I'm curious, is Biden's approval rating going up or going down? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And the second thing I would like to know is, do you really feel like we're in a stronger economy today than we were a couple months ago, or maybe even 3 years ago? But getting back to the video, real news, not this fake news. Something else I want to bring up is the Airbnb and the traveling. 80% of households have really lost their liquid assets. They're not traveling as much. We're going into holiday season, and we're seeing people like Citigroup do layoffs, right? So we're seeing some things happen. Here in the Treasure Valley, when I just go to the Treasure Valley just to say, okay, we're talking about Thanksgiving weekend, when people are traveling a lot, we have over 270 homes that are available, or 270 places that are available for somebody to come in and rent an Airbnb. Normally, these places want to sit vacant. Why? Because it's Thanksgiving weekend and people like to travel, but people are not traveling as much. These Airbnb holders that are currently maybe are used to having a low vacancy rate are now having more vacancy rates. On top of that, for those of you who know us, we have a car rental company. Well, we did have a car rental company, but we got out of that. Right now, going into this weekend, the holiday weekend, where people are traveling on Thanksgiving to go visit family, there's over 142 cars available. Again, I believe this is signs where people maybe not have been able to make their home payments or make their car payments, and so they're throwing their cars on the market, driving that more, showing just the signs of, wow, the average American is being squeezed and their savings are being squeezed, so they're having to throw their cars, and there's more inventory than what the consumer is willing to do. So there's a lot of things kind of brewing up as we're going into this. Why does this even matter? Why does this even matter? Well, it matters because some of you guys are, even though we have seen home prices decline, are wanting to get off the sidelines and buy a house. And so I just want to throw a scenario here. Let's say you bought a house in 2023. Let's say you bought a house in 2022, and maybe you used a 3-2-1 buy down or a 2-1 buy down, which, yes, is not adjustable rate mortgage because you got to qualify for it, but you're expecting to be able to refinance later. And so let's also say, as a scenario, going to this foreclosure chart, that the foreclosure is sitting here, but then all of a sudden they start ticking up. And as these foreclosures tick up, more inventory gets put on the market, which means that your home value has now decreased $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, and you cannot refinance. What are you gonna do? Because that is a very strong possibility, as there's so many signs indicating that this could happen in the near future. Well, what can you do? You gotta hold on tight. I wanna encourage you guys, if you found our channel too late, and if you just found our channel, make sure you hit that subscribe and like button. If you start seeing these foreclosures go and you cannot refinance, hopefully you don't have to let your house go. When you have agents, realtors, lenders, builders, sellers saying, hey, look away, don't worry, everything's normal, the housing market's fine, it's gonna grow, do not fall for that trap. The home sales have fallen to a 13-year low. So sold homes have fallen to a 13-year low, which is way back in 2010. And if things continue to go, yes, some of it's going to be sellers not wanting to sell, but some of them, sellers are going to be forced to sell. As we just kind of talked about, the household savings and liquid assets are being depleted. We're seeing that the home prices in the Treasure Valley are still declining. They haven't been on the rise. And homes sold, so the demand of people buying homes are still low. If you are going to try to jump into this market and buy a house, make sure you don't just fall for the trap of like, oh, I got to pay whatever's listed. Do your homework, do your research, and make sure you're paying the right price for that home, because it may be worth less in a year.